So this is the one that we made a couple years back out of an old bush hog. We modify it to fit on a skid loader. We run it with a hydraulic motor. Right here you'll see the hydraulic motor that drives it. Double sets of U-joints here. Then we got an overrunning clutch, and then the same old gearbox that was on the thing to begin with. We got a blank bobcat plate. We cut these brackets and laid them back so that the angle of this plate, you can actually pick the mower up and you can walk into stuff and you know, like if you had small sapling trees and that, you can get right up on top of them and just shred them until it comes down to nothing. The reason we put the overrunning clutch in there is so that when you turn your hydraulic motor off, the bush hog will keep spinning and it won't try to power that. You know, that motor is not going to lock up instantly and cause things to snap. So when we start it, we always started at an idle. We just use the trigger a little bit to get it going. Once you get it going, you lock the thing in and then bring your RPMs up once you get your blades running about where you want them. We took the back end of it and we opened up the back end of it, because now instead of pulling the bush hog, you're pushing it. So we want the grass and saplings and whatever to go right underneath of that thing, so we can get them, you know, it does a little better job that way. Little bracket to hold our hydraulic hoses. Pretty simple, really. There's not a lot to it. You know, what we got right here is we got another one that my buddy Brian bought, and we're going to modify it and make him one. He thinks he needs one, so we're going to make him one. We'll take the back end of it and we'll cut the back end of it out. We're going to take the 3-point hitch and we're going to cut all that up, and then we're going to lay it way back so our bobcat, you know, so you can raise it up when you want to walk into trees and that with it. Shorten up the drive line, build a bracket for our hydraulic motor. The brackets we buy them locally. I think there's a lot of people that make them. There's a bracket right there. It's a 1/4-inch plate. It's solid. The guy does a good job of building them. They're about $135. Price might have went up a little bit, but you can't hardly make one for that. Here's a brand new overrunning clutch that we'll put in a drive line between the motor and the gearbox. And we're going to show you this thing, and if you want to build you a cheap little mower, they're pretty handy, I'll tell you. You can get around stuff with them and really clean the place up if you want to. So we'll show you this one when we get all done with it over there, and what it looks like when we get done. But basically that's it before we start on it. And we'll show you as we're going along here, so you can kind of keep score yourself if you want to build one. So we took the drive shaft. And we took everything out of it but the 2 end yokes. Took the slip shaft completely out, put the U-joints back together. If you grease them before you take them apart, and then once you grease them, take the grease fitting out, and then be real careful taking the U-joints apart. You won't lose all the little roller bearings inside there. So just take your time and be careful. But put your 2 yokes right back together just like this. Once you get the yokes put back on, I slid the overrunning clutch onto the yokes and it's locked in. So now we've got our drive motor. We just got it. And this is a high power drive motor, so it's got an inlet, an outlet, and a case drain. If you don't have a case drain on your skid loader, you're going to want to use a motor that doesn't have a case drain, because you don't have a fitting on your machine for it. So this is going to run 3 hoses. we're going to take the milling machine and we're going to build a bracket that fits this bolt pattern, and we'll anchor it down here and we'll weld it into place. We've got our hoses, 1/2-inch hose, 8 feet long. We got our quick couplers, so our 2 big quick couplers for our feed and return. We got our 2 little couplers for our case drain line. And then we got some adapters. All these hoses, we buy all these hoses and that from Surplus Center. These are, all their hoses are just regular pipe thread in, so we buy the adapters that go from pipe thread in to O-ring boss. This motor's O-ring boss. When you buy the couplers, these couplers are regular pipe thread, so it'll just a little Teflon tape and it'll screw right into these. So once we get our bracket built for our motor right here, we'll get it ready, we'll get it positioned into place, get it welded down, put a stiffener across it, run our hoses, put us a little hose bracket on here to help tend our hoses. And when we get all that done, we'll let you take another look at where we're at then, but it doesn't take too much time to make all this stuff. If you just want to rough cut that out with a torch, you can cut it out with a torch, but it's a lot nicer if you can do a good job and machine it where it fits good and tight. This motor's got quite a bit of torque. I think this motor was $325, something like that. You can buy a cheaper motor, but if you're not cutting great big stuff, you can use a cheaper motor. Anything that's just going to have an in and an out without a case drain is going to be, you know, in the $200 range probably. They'll be fine, but just don't overwork them. So we get all done with this and we get the mounting bracket all put in, get the hoses put on. We'll show you where we're at then. So this is our motor, and we put our 2 adapters in here for our return and our feed. And then this one right here is another O-ring boss that we went to number 4 JIC swivel fitting for the case drain. This is your case drain. We got our ends put on our hoses. And then this little guy here, well, we forgot to order the 1/4-inch line for the case drain. Imagine that. Oh well, it happens. It happens to the best of us. Then we got our grade 8 bolts. We're going to mount our motor to 1/2-inch bolts, grade 8 hardware, nylocking nuts. I love these nylocking nuts because they are not going to shake loose as this thing starts running. Hose is 8 feet long. So if you come over here and you look at the plate that we're building, a piece of 10-inch channel iron, and we've drilled it where it's going to mount. And then we drilled another hole in here for our plasma cutter. It's a lot easier on the tip on a plasma cutter. These little tips on these plasma cutters are pretty pricey. I think it's about, I don't know, $10, $12, $14 a piece every time you replace that tip and the other parts that go inside there. So once we get this plate mounted and we get our motor put in here and we get our hoses ran, we're going to take this piece right here, we're going to mount it over on the other side. We're going to run our hoses through it to help keep our hoses tended so they don't get all wadded up all over the place, and make sure you got enough room so when you raise this thing up and down that the hose has got a place to go. So we're going to get all of this put on here, and when we get all of that done, then we're going to hopefully show it to you again, and then we're going to take and hook it to the skid loader, and we're going to go out and we're going to try it out and see how it does. I'm going to show you a quick walk around of what we got done here now. So you see where we got our motor brace put in there. We tied it into the struts going to the front, welded it across the bottom down here. We cut the back of that out so that if you have to change the motor when it's unhooked from the skid loader, you can slide that right straight out of that hole. Take your hoses off of there, slide it right straight out of the hole. It's your overrunning clutch. We put the guard back on, which, I don't know, helps keep the weeds from getting twisted around the shaft. There's 3 grease fittings in here to get to. One's where the shear pin is, one on the U-joint, and then the one there on the overrunning clutch. We ran our hoses up the side, put that little bracket on there, tied them together, run them up to the machine. So you got your in and your out and your case drain line. A little bracket here on the side that helps tend your hoses, and there's plenty of flex in here so that you're not gonna, you can always watch your hoses. That's the best part about it. You can always watch your hoses and see what's going on. So we're going to take you down to the timber down here someplace, and we're going to find a little something that needs cleaned up, and we're going to give you a demonstration of how that overrunning clutch works when you shut your hydraulic oil off, and what kind of job it does when it's mowing. So the first thing I want to show you, sitting in the rig here, is this overrunning clutch and how it works. So I'm going to raise it up, get it up here where you can see it. So now, if you watch me start, I'm going to just have it idling, and I'm going to start the mower by itself. And I can go real easy and get it running. That's at an idle. You see the shaft. Now watch what happens when I take the power off of it. See that motor shaft's not turning. The overrunning clutch is what's turning. So it saves your motor. That's the most important thing. It saves your motor. So we're going to get this thing running. We're going to sneak off here in the woods a little bit and show you what it'll do. Get it running there. You bring your RPMs up, motor speed up, climbs with it. I'm going to try to hold this camera still. We'll take you for a little ride here. So you can see it doesn't bog it down, and it'll do just about anything you want to mow. So hope you can build one. Doesn't take too much to do it. Hit that subscribe button and see what we're going to build next. Give us a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.